Hey, what's going on everyone? So in this video, we're going to do a quick initial impression of the new Bauer SV-PRO. So this is new for 2025. This is the continuation of the previous model, the X5 Pro. This is the second price point in the Bauer line. The Pro spec ones being the Bauer fly lights. So yeah, this is a pretty sick set. I could not resist the blacked out logos and the cool kind of like Batman look to it. Totally unnecessary purchase, but as a goalie, I love collecting stuff. So yeah, let's go into it and start talking about the goalie pads. Before I go into talking the specifics of the gear that we're looking at today, just a bit of a background. I have worn Bauer for the last handful of years, and I've worn most of the Pro spec stuff. So from a 2X Pro to Hyperlight 1 to Hyperlight 2s and even a custom Hyperlight 2 as well. The only mid price point Bauer pad that I've worn was the M5 Pro, which was part of the old Supreme line. So I was really excited to kind of check out the SV Pro. And this is again the second price point model of this year and the evolution of the old X5 Pro. So the higher price point of this is going to be the Bauer fly lights. So what that means is this is their squishy, bendable, soft pad line. And you can see you have a really nice pre-curve in there and really flexible pad. And this is gonna be really good for people who like to feel that connection with their leg. And if you're more of an athletic goalie or just like having that feel of a softer pad. And obviously this curve here is going to give you a better butterfly seal if you have, really bad internal hip rotation like I do and kind of want to have a little assistance with that curve up top there. So first, let's have a look at some of the new things they added to the pad. And, I don't know all the new specs, but I know one of the things that I noticed the most was this knee landing surface. So they have actually extended this out slightly. So you have more landing area on the knee block here, which is kind of cool. I'm not really sure like how that actually helps when you're playing, but the only thing that I noticed was, it was kind of actually like knocking against my pant a little bit as I was moving around. So it did take a little bit of adjustment period, but not too long in that case. One thing that I really like about Bauer pads, especially on a mid price point line, is just how stiff this knee block is. This is their StabiliFlex knee block, so stable, but has a little bit of wiggle room. And I really like this because when you drop into your butterfly, having that extra stability is going to keep you nice and upright. And I just love the way that this feels when you land on it. And just look how thick that knee block is. So the higher you are off your knees when you're on your knee block, the easier it is going to be for you to actually kind of flare out your legs a little bit there. So, if you're at home, do a test, do your internal rotation flare, put some pillows under your knee, try that again, and you're going to notice that you're going to get a little bit more flare that way. So having this fat knee block is really going to help with that and also soften your landing there. So looking at the knee block a little bit more again is just the material on it. It has a little bit of a grippy material on the outside here and kind of like a softer portion over here. I think this grippy material is going to be really good for, keeping your knee on that landing spot if it starts to kind of like slip off a little bit. But otherwise, pretty standard landing knee block over here. When it comes to the strapping on these pads, I think it's pretty straightforward when it comes to Velcro straps. You have your behind the calf like this, behind the knee like that. Usually this will come with like a knee wing, which I've removed on the inside. So you have a overall kind of calf wrap that's going to tie everything together. The one addition that they had for this line is this tune fit inside calf wrap here. And I actually really like this. This is something that I ordered on my custom Hyperlight 2. I think this was actually from the Shadow line they brought over. And I really like this because it's kind of like this sling for your calf, and it really integrates your leg nicely in with the pad itself. My only complaint with this one is that it's actually a little bit too snug. This is kind of like on the loosest setting right now, and I wish we could kind of like dial it in just a little bit more, but I think because it's brand new, you know, I think just stretching it out a little bit. I don't have like the biggest calves, but if you're one of those guys who does like calf raises like every day or something like that, you might blow out of this thing and need a little bit more space. So that could be a bit of a hindrance. One of the other awesome additions that they added to this year's model is these little attachment points over here. And what this is for, it's for adding a additional professor strap. And that's going to be aftermarket, so it doesn't come with the pad itself. And what that's going to do, it's going to allow you to add a strap in there. And before, we used to have to actually lace it into the binding over here. And I can just show you guys how that looks like with it fully attached. So this is the professor strap that I have attached on here. And this is called the Tune Fit Connect. Usually the hockey shop that you order your pads from should have a few of these like lying around or for sale. But again, for those of you who don't use one of these things, it's pretty cool. I always order these on my pads. It used to only be like available on the higher end custom models. So it's really nice that they actually put this in stock on the mid price point now. And what this is going to allow you to do is actually going to keep your knee like in the right spot if you plan to wear your pads really, really loose. At least that's what I found. I usually will always kind of have one on semi-loose. That way my knee kind of doesn't slip out of the knee block there, because I like to wear my straps quite loose. The other thing that this is going to do is actually going to just keep the pad a little bit higher on your leg as well too. So if you want to get a little bit more height out of that pad, this is going to do it. And this is going to sit like above your calf, behind your knee. Moving down the leg channel here, really flat tabletop boot. So there's like barely any recess in here. I don't think there's any recess in here. Again, this is going to make the pad sit a little bit higher. What I really like about this toe bridge here is that really thick, solid, kind of like foam toe bridge with a bunch of slots in there. I think some of the older kind of stock models came with just like a tiny little flappy tab kind of thing. I really like these thicker toe bridges. It's going to allow you to kind of pick where you want your laces to be, and also not break down as fast because it's like a stiffer toe bridge here. When it comes to the stock toe ties, it does come with their new like little Bauer system toe tie thing here. And if you guys can see that, it's like this little plastic nub which goes into the lacing holes over here, and it's going to give you a bit of that extra gap, and then you kind of bungee that to your skate that way. I think this is a really cool design, but I do find that it's still too short in terms of a gap, and just not enough bungee to kind of get around my skate. And I have worn these for a handful of games before on my Hyperlite 2s, and actually ripped through these guys over here. So fortunately I don't really use these anymore. So the other thing that they've added to this pad here, and you'll notice this kind of crazy ridged pattern here on the sliding surface. I don't really know what it's supposed to do, or I don't know what that intention is, but it looks cool. It really reminds me of the Warrior kind of like slots that they had on the knee block many generations ago, where it's supposed to like improve your slide. I've used those Warriors. I did not really notice the difference with those, so I don't think that these are really going to help with the slide at all. But it's kind of a cool feature to have there. So what do I think about these pads? Again, you know, I want to come with that context that I come from wearing a lot of pro line pads. This is a really solid mid price point pad. If you can call, you know, something over $1,000 mid price point nowadays. But from my experience from wearing, you know, a set of Hyperlite 2s and even the custom Hyperlite 1 stuff that I have, this is feeling really good. The only thing that's kind of preventing me from actually wearing this a bit more is going to be the slide surface here. So why I want to bring that up is because the other mid-level price point stuff like the CCM 7.9s and also the Brian's Optic X4, I believe, they're all bringing their pro spec sliding surfaces onto their mid price point models. This is still using, I think, the old Core-Tech material for their slide surface here, whereas the new flylets are using something called like Slider. I don't know what it's called, like Slider, something like that. I felt that when I was on the ice and trying to slide with these pads, I was quite disappointed by how they slid, unfortunately. Mind you, I am coming from Brian's, which is like Primo Slide, which is like the most like slidey thing can get. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because I did use an old pair of new GSXs, which is like the lower price line of Bauer, about a year ago, and those things slid a lot better than this one. I don't know if it's because maybe this weird like ridging thing kind of messed it up a little bit, but it's not that I couldn't slide, and it wasn't that like it was bad. But when it comes to, you know, buying a mid price point model where other brands are starting to bring down their pro spec features, the sliding surface in particular. So again, eFlex 7.9 is bringing their cross glide technology to their mid price point line. Brian's X4 has their cool Primo slide, which is like the fastest slide out there right now. The other thing that's really noticeable, again, coming from, you know, pro spec stuff, is obviously the material, like the HD foam in here. You know, Bauer's known to have really poppy rebounds. I got some good rebounds off this, but nowhere near as poppy as the pro stuff there. So I totally understand that Bauer obviously has to make some differentiation from their pro stuff to their midline stuff. So when it comes to rebound power and slide surface, I think that's where they made that differentiation, where you have to kind of pay a little bit extra for those extra goodies there. All right, so next up, let's move on to the glove. So I believe this is a stock 590. Coming out of the box, this is very, very stiff. I've been trying to break it in as much as I can, but the closure on that, super sick, right? If you can get that nicely broken in, really nice closure on there. Comes stock with the double T with the nylon lacing here, so you can have really good visibility of that puck as it kind of goes into the pocket there. So one thing that I did notice when using this glove is that it's definitely like a full hand closure. So I have used stock Hyperlite gloves before, which was a 590 break. This one feels a little bit different in that I feel like my fingers really go quite deep into the glove, and I feel like I need to kind of catch the puck with like my entire hand, like actually getting my hand out in front of the puck, as opposed to kind of catching it a little bit kind of like underneath it. That way it can land like in the netting here. But other than that, like the feel inside, it's actually really, really snug compared to other gloves that I used. I can't really quite put my finger on it, but it feels like almost like an intermediate palm in there or something like that. And the one odd thing is on the thumb area here, so when you put your thumb in here, there's no actual like finger loop to put your thumb through. Instead, there's like a really kind of like, I wish I could show you guys on the camera. There's like a little rubber thing that you put your thumb on instead to kind of keep your thumb in place, which is a little bit different. Inside the palm itself, there's a lot of grippy material for your finger to hold the glove in place, which is really nice. I know they had that on the Hyperlite 2s as well too when I had my custom order, but they were like way too deep into the glove and I couldn't get my fingers in there. This one is really easy to reach because this glove, it feels like my whole hand can really get into it. Like it feels like it's like in here, like almost at like the tips there, which is really different from any glove that I've tried before. So looking at the backhand here, pretty standard kind of setup. I think this is a little bit more open than previous gloves that I've seen from Bauer, so we kind of open this guy up. Lots of strapping options in the back here, so open these guys up here, kind of pull all that out. Really cool that you can kind of open these up and just like air it out really nicely here. I think the old Hyperlite stuff, you can't really do this on their gloves, so it's really nice to be able to see this edition here. And just kind of give you an idea of like where my fingers actually sit on this glove. So my fingers are in here. My fingers actually sit like right over here, like right on the outer edges here. Most gloves that I've used, like they sit like way further back. One thing that's also interesting on the cuff, you can see it kind of scoops in quite a bit. So it's like a really kind of angled cuff up here. Definitely a lot more cuff action up top here to kind of get those higher shots as it hits up there. One thing that I noticed, however, because of this extra coverage here is, check that out, I can see my hand over here. I don't know about that. This feels really, really exposed. Like, I don't know if like a puck can get in there, but some weird shots kind of bounces in there and pretty much gonna break my hand, I think. So I've never seen a glove like this. It's kind of odd, and I don't really know if I'm just like using this improperly, but I don't really feel too safe with that. I like this to be cinched up a little bit more because yeah, if the puck gets in there, gonna have to get a new hand. So overall, I think, you know, outside of this like missing protection stuff over here, the grip stuff feels great inside. I think after breaking it in, this will feel like a pretty good glove. It does feel very protective. Like, I've had Pro Palm gloves before and stuff like that. This stock mid price point stuff, man, this feels really good. It feels really, really protective. And I know that they did beef up the protection on their gloves this year. And it's really nice to see this stuff, this little tag over here. So this little green DCT tag. I know I had this on my pro level stuff, so really cool to see that on the mid price point glove as well. All right, last up is the blocker. Everyone says a blocker is just a blocker. Well, yep, there it is, done. No, I'm just kidding. I really like this. Like, I love the feel of this blocker. Bauer knows how to make blockers. Like, I love Bauer blockers just in general. And I say that because I really love like the flat board that they have. The rebounds are nice and hot off of this guy. I think these are actually, they pop even better than the Bryans that I have. And overall, it just feels like the shadow blocker. And that shadow blocker is like, if you look it up, a lot of people really enjoy that blocker, and that's one of the custom blockers that I had in my old Hyperlight 2 set. So it's really nice to see them bring a lot of those features into this guy here. So this is how the backhand looks like. So pretty nice articulation with this cuff here. It's still a little bit restrictive, like, you know, but it's not as much as it used to be. If you guys have used blockers before from Bauer, they used to have this like weird cuff over here where some people would just actually snip off the whatever you call elastic over here, just so it can flop around a bit more. But they've opened that up a little bit more to kind of get more articulation in the wrist. So the only real strapping here is just, you know, your Velcro down here and kind of just like cinch it up like that. The one thing again that I did notice with this palm is, again, it's really snug. It's really, really snug. It feels, again, kind of like almost like an intermediate palm, but I have heard that Bauer is trying to make these feel like a bit more like player gloves. So I think that's where maybe this whole like tight fitting glove thing is kind of coming into play. But I mean, overall, like, this feels great. Like, I really love this blocker. No complaints with it so far. Pretty awesome. All right, so there you guys have it. This is like my initial review of the Bauer SV-PRO line. I hope to get a bit more ice time with them over the summer, but fortunately ice is a little bit more sparse nowadays, so I'm not going to be able to test these out a bit more. I think the other thing that, you know, people ask is like, is it worth getting mid-price point stuff over, you know, pro spec stuff? To be honest, like, in my opinion, as someone who's worn a lot of pro spec stuff before, they're starting to really blur the lines with the type of construction and the features that they're bringing into the mid price point stuff. I can definitely see myself like using this for like a handful of seasons. I'm not entirely sure about like how the construction will hold up over, you know, a course of a season where you're on the ice like 3 to 4 times a week. But it's really cool to see, you know, brands bringing their pro spec stuff into the mid-level price points now, and I think it's a really good way to get goalies who don't have that much cash some cool specs to work with. So I know that's a really quick like overview of these pads here. I've only been on the ice like a handful of times with them, but if you have any questions about these things, feel free to you know, ping me in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. See you guys on the ice again. Take care.